Hello and welcome to Word on the Street, where we give you the lowdown on everything people have been talking about over the last fortnight.
We'll be with you every 2 weeks to bring you exclusive updates on various topics like games, films, book reviews and more.
Be sure to tune in every episode for recaps. Today we'll be talking about two programmes from the opposite ends of the spectrum, James May's Man Lab and The Host. We'll also have our first music feature, Night Visions by Imagine Dragons. And to top it all off, Shannon has some personal news for us all at the end of the podcast.
But first off is Man Lab, so Abby, would you like to explain about it?
So Man Lab is a show which aims to reteach some of the vital skills that have been lost to modern man. Vital skills like throwing buns across Abingdon, making pizza ovens and learning the art of seduction.
I like pizza.
In Man Lab, we meet a lot of colourful and lovable characters, including Rory Barker, Junior turned prop researcher, who's always the first in line to be made fool of. Simi, the guy who makes stuff and has very floppy hair, and Oz Clark, the wine expert who in the past escaped Dartmoor prison with James May. You should seriously watch the old ones.
Okay, well, so far I've only just started watching Man Lab, to be honest, but
yeah, same.
Just from one episode, I was actually quite intrigued by their ideas and their theories, especially when it comes to the whole
bun throwing.
Yeah, the whole bun throwing idea. Which
is actually a very old tradition, apparently. But the people at the back never get buns, so he had to step in. To feed the poor, starving people.
What a sad, tragic story. But yeah, I like the way they develop ideas to try to make sure that they get to throw as many buns in one time using old supplies such as their Christmas cannon.
Yeah, the Christmas tree decorating cannon. Weird then and still weird now.
Well, I do like the way they had such high hopes for it until the very first try where it just fell off.
They tend to have high hopes for quite a lot of unusual things, like the episode I watched recently, and there's so many reasons why I'm never going to forget that episode, seriously, because I put it this way, I think Rory is now going to be my favourite character ever. Literally, because
I love Rory.
Oh, so do I.
Anyone called Rory I love, it seems.
Well, his name's funny enough, but what he did in the episode I watched, it was quite funny actually, because he was selling whelks and he had such high hopes for it. It was absolutely hilarious, and I love James May's commentaries as well. It got to the point where he was on the market. All the other markets were very, multicultural and everything, and they had all these fancy signs and all these deals. All he did, and this was him trying to be cost efficient, he just got a blue cardboard rectangle and painted whelks on it. He used the littlest amount of white paints possible, and the reason why he did that was because he wanted to take it back to the shop to get more money. So that was quite hilarious. And then when he actually came to selling the whelks, he didn't exactly say anything catching, anything that really would sell to the people on the market. All he did was go, whelks! Whelks! Get your whelks! Whelks! And I was just like, yeah, I'm getting sick of hearing the word whelks now. Whelks! Alright, literally, that's all he did. When people are selling their stuff, they want to look all enthusiastic, like, wow, get our amazing stuff. But he just looked bored out of his head. He had a look and just say, oh my god, I really want to be somewhere else. Whelks! Like that.
It was just still somehow managed to get a profit, like £2 profit or something. But it would be if James May hadn't spent £10 on something.
Yeah, see, that was even funnier because James actually nicked a tenner of his money and didn't admit it till the end. I think he spent £99 or something, and then he had to kind of get all that money owed back to him by selling the whelks. And James was saying, oh, you've only made £91, you stupid boy. And then he said in the end, oh, well, don't worry, because I kind of nicked your tenner to buy that kebab from the other market. So actually, you've got £99. Well done. It was just absolutely hilarious.
And by extension, you are now fit to run the country.
Yeah, sell a few whelks and he can run the country. That's kind of the theory.
His face when he said that was probably the first time he'd been complimented.
I think it was. The actual theory was, can any idiot run a whelk store?
Yeah.
What a poor, sad little soul.
There's just so many hilarious things about Man Lab.
The thing I love most about Man Lab is the fact that they take all the simple things that could be done so easily, like just buying one, and they deliberately do it the hard way. So, like, they say it's teaching men the vital skills by saying they have to be manly and do everything themselves.
Yeah.
But actually, they could do it much easier, but they deliberately do the most difficult, ridiculous thing.
I do like the way they made their clock, though. It was actually quite imaginative.
It looked like a science experiment gone wrong to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving swiftly on, Leo, what would you rate the programme from 1 to 10?
Well, that episode I actually quite liked, so I think I put it as a 7 or an 8 out of 10. Around there.
I'd probably say 8 to 9. And I've only watched like 2 or 3 episodes, but I'd definitely say 8 to 9. Would you say, Abby?
I say 10 because it's one of my favourite programmes.
I don't blame you, to be honest.
And
I would say maybe 10, but that might be a bit far-fetched when I haven't watched that many episodes so far. But yeah.
And would we recommend it?
Oh, I'd definitely recommend it.
Yeah, definitely. Seeing as I already did.
Well, after watching the next few episodes, perhaps I think I'll decide if I recommend it or not. I just got started on it, so I can't really make a final decision yet.
Well, I think so far I'd definitely recommend it, especially if you're a fan of Top Gear. I would definitely recommend watching it. Anyway, moving swiftly on, the film we're going to be reviewing this week is The Host, which we've all seen individually. The Host is a film based on a book by Stephanie Meyer, who's the author of the Twilight novels, and because of this, a lot of people are quite quick to criticise the film because there's been a lot of backlash from the Twilight films, but I suppose the question is whether it actually is a good film or not, which I personally think it is. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of Twilight, but The Host is something completely different. The novel itself is quite complex, and when I read it I thought it'd be difficult to understand, bearing in mind it was like a couple of years I'd read it before I actually saw the film. But I think the film's a bit different. Whoever, the director who made the film, I think they did a really excellent job because, it's such a hard-hitting yet thrilling story, about a girl who's trapped inside her own body and is taken over by one of these aliens, really. These aliens, or spirits, or whatever you want to call them, take over human bodies, but Melanie tackles with her host, who is known as Wanda, sends her messages, telling her to do all sorts, tells her to run away, tells her to find her old family, and it's quite a bit of a journey, really. And what's quite interesting, which is not what you get in other films, is the fact that there's 2 people who are the main character at once, not just the one person. So you see like a mixture of Melanie's story and Wanda's story at the same time. That's my opinion. I mean, what does everyone else think?
Overall, I thought it was a very good film, though there were definitely some flaws with it, I think. So
yeah.
I'd say, one thing people say quite a lot is that there were some awkward lines with the script. So I think there were quite a few awkward lines towards the beginning, and the inner voice did sound quite unnatural. I love Saoirse Ronan, and I don't want to say anything bad about her, though I think actually the way she said the inner voices towards the beginning sounded, it didn't sound like she was saying it naturally. Though I suppose that's something that's hard to get across in a film.
That's something that's never been done before. This is the thing. So I think I can see where you're coming from, but I think I think if you're going to do that kind of thing for the first time, I think she was pretty good overall, but I can see your points at the beginning, because when I picture the scene, it did sound a bit like it was just inserted in, like randomly, so I do see your point. What do you think, Leo?
Well, I could tell that it is a bit of a last human conscious civilization sort of thing. But at first I didn't understand it quite well, but as soon as the story kept going, I started to understand it a bit more. Because, of course, the aliens arrive, invades the entire planet, possess nearly the entire world population, and only a small handful of humans who haven't even been possessed yet, or even touched by these aliens, remains to and fight for their own survival.
I liked the ending of the story, actually. I thought the one scene where they thought Wanderer was going to die, I thought that was quite hard-hitting because it's a close-up of her face, and you can see all the emotion in her face. And she was talking, she was talking to Melanie. It was just like, there was a lot of really emotional lines, like expressing I love yous and stuff like that. And they'd formed such a bond as if they were sisters, and I thought that was such a really, that was a really powerful scene, and I really enjoyed watching that because I love how they managed to express so much emotion in the film despite the fact it's such an unusual story. Okay, Leo's now no longer with us as he's had to go to his English lesson, so it's just me and Abby for the rest of the podcast.
One of the biggest problems that I think affected the whole thing was the fact that they had to cut out so much from the book. I know they had to do that, though. I've read the book recently and I thought it was absolutely brilliant and I really loved it. But then I realised more after I read that how much had been taken out of the film, and I expected that. But the whole thing happened over about a year or something. The film appeared to take place over a few weeks, so quite a lot of the relationships felt rushed. When I saw the film, I didn't know who Kyle was, so I didn't really understand his motivations. And I realise now that there were some moments in the book that I found really touching and moving. But I realised I didn't find them as moving in the film because there wasn't as much build-up to it.
Yeah.
So there were goodbye scenes which were really nicely made, but they didn't mean quite as much. I think it's quite clever how Saoirse Ronan decided to change Wanda so it's clear which is Wanda and which is Melanie.
Yeah.
Then at the same time, when I started reading the book, I knew how the film was already, and I was starting to be a bit confused because they almost seemed too similar. But by the time I got further in the book, I knew the differences perfectly.
Yeah.
When I rewatched the film after reading the book, I realised Wanda didn't have much emotion most of the time, which was part of the character, but I realised she did in the book.
Yeah.
So it just, like the goodbye scene between her and Ian, I didn't even notice it when I first saw the film, but when I saw it again, he just said, "Oh, you are not leaving me," and then she said, "I'm sorry, I have to." Then in the book, he was very angry and screaming. She was crying because she was scared and also upset. And it was really emotional that I realised in the film.
Yeah, that's one thing that I thought was a bit confusing. I mean, I haven't read the book in quite a long time, so I can't really fully remember what happens, but I do recall that actually where she seems more emotional for Melanie than anyone else.
Yeah.
Even the guy that, she's kissing and everything, and I thought that was a bit weird because I thought, well, surely if you're going to just, fall in love and then have to leave that loved one and never see them again, surely you'd be a bit more upset than that instead of sorry, I just have to go.
Yeah.
I mean, I did notice some emotion in her face, I could see in her
I
face.
definitely saw emotion, though it was a different kind of emotion.
I think this is the thing when it comes to book adaptations, whoever directs the film is going to have his own interpretation of it, so I think naturally a lot of people are going to disagree with the director's interpretation, but as a director, he only creates what he sees, what he envisions when reading the book himself. So I think it's just natural for people to kind of think, this should have been the same as this and this, but probably other people are criticising it as well for that reason. People are quite passionate about the actual novel.
Yeah.
I think this is the problem because it's only one person who's purely making the decision what goes in the film. We as the audience just have to kind of see what we get, we get what we see.
Yeah, I definitely understand why they changed it, because when I was reading the book there were lots of bits when I was like, okay, I probably wouldn't have put this in the film either because it works well in the book.
Yeah.
But then in the film it will probably come across as really boring.
Yeah.
But then at the same time there were a lot of character developments. And another thing, it was very sentimental compared to the book.
Yeah.
Because in the book there were lots of other stuff, and out of the 600 pages there are, proper romance literally doesn't start until 400 pages through. But then in the film, obviously they had to start it a bit earlier. So it came across as if they just fell in love all of a sudden. So overall, I don't really think it does the book justice, but at the same time, it was a very good attempt.
Yeah,
because it was so long, and they kept in most of the really major plot points. It's just
Yeah.
They didn't have some of the smaller ones, like they cut out smaller characters, which I really liked in the book. And the love theme was more than just romantic love. It was love between friends and family.
Yeah.
And obviously they didn't have quite as much of that in the film. But one thing the film really has going for it is that it was so beautifully made.
It definitely was, yeah.
Yeah, the cinematography and the visual effect. And I have to say the music is some of the most beautiful music I've ever heard, probably.
I thought it was visually stunning, to be honest.
That's the thing I mainly
scenery.
love about it, how it looks and the acting was quite good.
I love some of the camera shots and techniques used. I love the scenery. I loved a lot about it, yeah. I fell in love with the film as soon as I started watching it, really, because visually it was so beautifully made.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was just really eye-capturing. Anyway, what would you say out of 10 that you would personally rate the film?
I think overall I would probably give it a 7 or 8 because of the flaws. That does mark it down a little bit, but overall it was very good and much better than lots of people have been giving it, like people have been criticising it. On Rotten Tomatoes it was given a 13% on the first day, which I thought was ridiculous because
that's a bit silly.
Yeah, people had rated it even lower than Twilight, but then some people said it was much better than Twilight.
I think a lot of people are quite judgmental because of the fact it's the same author who wrote Twilight, but it's so much different and so much better than that.
When I saw it for the second time, I started to realise why people might have said what they said, but I still don't think it's worth such low ratings. It's definitely better than they said.
Definitely not.
So I would definitely recommend people watch it and see what they think of it.
Yeah, definitely. I'd probably give it about an 8 out of 10, same as you. You know, to anyone out there who thinks that it's similar to Twilight and, you know, isn't a Twilight fan or anything like that.
It's definitely not.
No, definitely don't judge it for that reason because, you know, just sort of judging by what me and Abby have said, yeah, there is a few flaws. If you've read the book before, there is going to be a few flaws in the film. But overall, it's a fantastic film. It's such an interesting story. It's hard-hitting. It's nothing like Twilight, to be honest. There are some similar aspects, but not much. You know,
it's definitely more badass than Twilight.
See, there we go. It's badass, so you should just basically go watch it.
So next we have the music feature, in which we're going to have Imagine Dragons. They are very popular at the moment, and their debut album has recently come out late last year, I think. It's called Night Visions, and I actually bought the album recently, and before that I'd only heard about 1 or 2 songs by them, but I have to say none of the music on the album is under par with any of the others. So I definitely think if you're a fan of any Imagine Dragons song, you will definitely like this album.
One of the songs, coincidentally, which is actually called Radioactive, is actually featured within the host film, and I think it fits quite, you know, nicely within the film, to be honest. I've only listened to a couple of like songs from this band. I think they're really good. They're quite an unusual band actually, and the music video for Radioactive was quite unusual as well. Especially when you had at the end all these random teddy bears that started to jump about and look a mixture of like sweet but menacing. So that was a bit weird, but yeah, it's a good band. I'll definitely recommend them.
So now I will leave you with Radioactive by Imagine Dragons.
Right, and to finish off with our final topic, this is what Abby referred to as my personal news. It's not really that personal, but yeah. Right, I've been on quite a few interesting journeys over the past couple of weeks, as you might have seen on the Facebook page if you are a regular listener. If you are a new listener, if you check us out on our Facebook or Twitter page, you will see a photo that I've put up where I got to meet Oliver Phelps, who stars as George Weasley from Harry Potter. This Saturday just gone, I attended a charity football match in aid of the Harry Moseley Charity. Harry was a young boy who unfortunately was diagnosed with some kind of cancer, I think a brain tumour. When he received this diagnosis, unfortunately it was terminal, but what he did, which I think to this day is so brave from, 11-year-old boy, he didn't get too upset about it. He wasn't like just thinking, oh God, I'm not going to live very long. He didn't have that kind of attitude. He knew he didn't have very long, so he went on making his own charity in aid of other people who have a condition that's either the same or similar to his. And he started making bracelets, which you will probably find in most local stores. They're about £1 each, are colourful bead bracelets. He also started making charity events, and this is this football match. The football match consisted of quite a lot of local celebrities. We had both the Weasley twins from Harry Potter, there was Shane Ward, Gareth Gates, there was quite a large range of celebrities, a couple of actors from, The Only Way is Essex as well. And they played this football match, and every penny that was spent, either on tickets or VIPs or any of the merchandise or anything like that, went straight towards the charity. And I really enjoyed the match. I thought it was very inspirational, and I liked the events that went on in Dudley the week before as well, because both Oliver Phelps, Shane Ward, and also two singers from The Risk, who were a band that featured on the X Factor. And these things are a great opportunity really, because you're doing something for a good cause, and you are also getting to meet people who inspire you. It's an exciting opportunity for everyone really. I've always been a massive fan of the Harry Potter films, so obviously meeting Oliver Phelps was quite a bit of a delight for me. I also, on the day of the football match, I got to meet a man called Lee Latchford Evans, who was in a band called Steps many years ago. As a child I used to love the band, so that brought on a lot of childhood memories as well, and I've always saw him as an inspiration. But overall I saw all of them as an inspiration really, because they all did something for a really good cause. Harry's mum, Georgie Moseley, was there as well, thanking everyone for the match and everything. Harry had left a message on the big screen. The match went really well, it was enjoyable, everyone had a lot of fun, the excitement of seeing people who inspire me, it was just absolutely brilliant really. But I think as well, Harry himself inspires me because he made that charity to help others. Instead of thinking of himself, he helped others, and not a lot of people would do that, and he was very young and at a very vulnerable age. So I think overall it was a really good day. I had a load of fun, and I got to meet Oliver Phelps, so that was all good. There was also quite a couple of funny aspects that happened as well. I went to the Harry Potter tour last year, and I bought a official Slytherin scarf, and I kind of got this crazy idea in my head that it was kind of mixture my mum's and mine idea, but in fairness to my mum, she's not the biggest Harry Potter expert, so she wouldn't have thought about this, whereas I'm quite a bit of an expert. So you would have thought that me thinking I think Oliver Phelps and James Phelps should sign my Slytherin scarf when they are in Gryffindor, I don't think that would have gone down quite well. I mean, I didn't get to meet them again on Saturday anyway. I didn't actually click onto that until we pretty much were nearly there. I was thinking, I don't think that would have gone down very well. Come on, Gryffindor, sign my Slytherin scarf. Yeah, I'm just really glad I didn't meet them now, and I'm really glad that I clicked on. So yeah, that was funny. And also at one point, because some of the celebrities walked from the centre of the pitch after the match to the barriers, there was tons of people rushing around trying to get autographs and that, and both the Weasley twins kind of came down the stairs, and I literally just ran halfway across the pitch. I was saying to Mum, I want my Weasleys! And I just literally ran as fast as I could, and my mum just sort of gave up and just was literally on the floor in absolute fits of laughter. I just kind of looked back and she was in the distance laughing, because this is what I'm like when I'm trying to meet people. I will literally just run. It was a really good day, there's just many reasons why it's good, but yeah, enough of me waffling on. Abby, have you ever had any, experiences where you've ever met any inspirational people before?
I think someone I'd really like to meet who's an inspiration for me is Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
For me, she's an inspiration because she's a wonderful actress, and she's become really famous now, but she hasn't let the fame get to her. She still seems like a normal person in her interviews. She's quirky and says all funny things that don't seem Hollywood-esque. But as well as that, she's also a really caring person, because I actually read an article where back when she was 14, she was friends with a boy with Down syndrome.
Oh, right.
And he got made fun of quite a bit, but she was always friends with him and there for him.
Yeah.
And at school there was a thing where they all vote most popular, and she created a petition to get her friend as most popular boy, and he managed it. The boy's mum had been trying to get her not to do it because he might be made fun of, but when he managed it, she was so grateful, and she knew that affected him for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
So all through her career, as it blossomed, he created like a shrine in his room of all the Jennifer Lawrence magazines and photos. As her career blossomed, and whenever she's in town, she still goes and meets him.
Yeah.
So for the Oscars, he was there, getting all excited. So I just love that she's still as kind and caring to people who she knew back then.
She does seem quite a very modest and genuine person.
Yeah.
I think with some people, I think when they're in the spotlight, they don't always know how to act.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the impression I get anyway. So I think sometimes they'll probably put on a different persona. Unfortunately for a lot of the public, that'll come across as fake when they're not necessarily mean to that. They just might not know how to be in the spotlight. But I really do admire the ones that can just be themselves in front of the camera, because it's a very pressurising thing being in the press, especially when it's all over the papers and all over the news. But she doesn't seem that fussed about that. She just likes to be herself.
She's also really humble.
Yeah.
Because she says she's only beautiful because of Photoshop, though we clearly know otherwise because we see her without Photoshop. It's just she's always self-deprecating and stuff.
Yeah.
And the fact that she doesn't want to be really skinny because she wants to be a role model for young girls.
Yeah.
So that inspires me quite a bit.
Yeah, I find her quite an inspiration too. There's a lot of inspiring people out there. A question to ask for you, the audience. Is there a particular inspirational person that you'd like to meet or have already met? If you have or would like to meet anyone, then do feel free to let us know either on our Facebook page, which is called Word on the Street Podcast, our Twitter page, which is at word_on_street, or want to email us at wordonthestreetoutlook.com. Feel free to send us any photos or information about any inspirational people you've met or would like to meet, and give us a reason why. And
feel free to put them on Facebook as well and Twitter.
Yeah, remember any tweets that we get, we will have a look at them and see which one we like best, and you might just be in with a chance of a retweet from us, so you never know.
As always, we'll be back next time with